Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at Nvidia, and we have a lot of great updates today. We have some Tesla price points that somehow I'm going to bring it back to Nvidia. We also have some new benchmarks that investors should know, and Broadcom, a huge semiconductor company, just reported earnings and stock price is up dramatically. They also said something interesting about Nvidia. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
The first thing I want to take a closer look at is for those that are not familiar today, ARK, and maybe you could care less about ARK, but what they mention here, I believe can help kind of understand where maybe the market might be in the future. So ARK expects their value for Tesla in 2029 to be $2,600 per share. You might be like, Jose, why are you talking about this? This is crazy. This is insane. But I just want to kind of see why they value it so much. And one of the reasons that they value it so much is they estimate that 90% of Tesla's enterprise value and earnings will be attributed to the robo-taxi business in 2029. And the reason I bring this up for Nvidia is maybe Nvidia, Nvidia obviously they're using all their, Tesla is using Nvidia's chips to do things like training. And if things like robo-taxis need to go out there, I do believe FSD and all these kind of autonomous driving solutions that Tesla needs to be a little bit better, even though I believe FSD 12.3, the one that I have, is insane. I use it almost on a daily basis. I still believe it has ways to go for it to be a full robo-taxi. So for them to do that, they obviously need to train more of their models. And to train more of their models, they're probably going to need a lot more NVIDIA AI chips. So that got me pretty excited. If they believe that this is where the future will be within the next few years, then robo-taxi, Tesla's not going to be the only one doing that, right? Now, some things that they did not mention here, or they did not expect much, is the Optimus. So Optimus is their humanoid robotic. And they believe while Tesla can grow in this, they don't see this kind of ramping up into the commercial market within the next 5 years. So this is something that's pretty interesting because right now we are getting a lot of excitement here in the humanoid robots, right? This is one of the things that we saw during GTC event. But ARK, and again, you might disagree or agree, but to some extent, maybe they might have some knowledge in the tech market. Maybe you might have some different input on their investing, but I would have to agree that right now for us to see a very huge, meaningful ramp up in any type of humanoid robots is not going to happen within the next 5 years. So if your bullish case for maybe Nvidia right now is robotics will come out in the next 3 years in forms of crazy volume, then I don't think that's the case. Maybe in forms of training, right? Because before you ramp up that production, you need to train those robots. For the training, for the software solution, Nvidia can definitely benefit. But if you want from the volume number, then that's something that might take a lot longer. But overall, I find this, if this is to be true, and if robo-taxi is expected to be within the next 5 years, and if humanoid robots is something that can happen with after 5 years, then we definitely have a lot of needs for Nvidia's AI chips. So overall, I find that bullish.
Before we go any further, we are now on the road to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you all for the crazy support. So if you haven't and are enjoying the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Finally, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, make sure to check out my special offer at fool.com/Jose. Now back to today's episode.
Now, the second thing I want to take a closer look at is MLPerf. So for those that are not familiar, there is a benchmark, and it happens every few months, where all these companies that have AI chips, they kind of, hey, look, we test all our chips on these benchmarks to kind of be able to showcase, hey, look, our chips are better than everybody else. At the end of the day, no one has beaten Nvidia and no one is coming close. So Nvidia is still the top player, but Intel did announce that their Gaudi 2 is doing pretty well, right? So they kind of showcased Gaudi 2, and they even made it in form of a large system. This large system system had over 1,000 Gaudi 2 AI accelerators. So it kind of showcases that the Gaudi 2 is scalable. So that's actually great news for Intel and being able to showcase. They also mentioned that the soon-to-be Gaudi 3 accelerator will be in the next benchmark. And right now, it continues to show that the only AI accelerator out in the market right now to be able to kind of showcase that they're an alternative to Nvidia's H100 is Intel with the Gaudi 2. And I find that pretty interesting, right? That right now, an AMD with their MI300X that's been out, they still haven't showcased this in their ML performance. So that's pretty interesting. I really always wonder why they don't show it there. But the Gaudi 3 is expected to be generally available from OEMs in fall of 2024. Now, Nvidia, like I mentioned, showcased a lot of great things and still remains the top player here in the benchmarks. There's no one anywhere better than that. So the only one Nvidia is competing with is themselves, and they're showcasing a few things. First, they showcased that in June 2023, they had a system that had about 3,500 H100s. About a year later, that unit has increased by over 3 times. And the performance of that unit also increased by 3 times. And let me just say that's pretty impressive, because when you start to scale up multiple units together, sometimes their performance starts to decrease. So by having almost a near perfect scaling performance growth, that's actually very bullish, and that's what they're trying to showcase here. The other thing is Nvidia showcases that, hey, look, their H100 in a model like Stable Diffusion V2 for training, the same H100 is about 1.8 times faster on that model thanks to kind of all the software solutions Nvidia has done. So it showcases that, hey, look, if I'm buying a product from Nvidia, the H100, for example, I know that the company is going to continue to improve via software, and I can get better performance over time. Another one that they showcase is the H100. The H100 informs of training of a huge model with 175 billion parameters did increase about 27% versus last year. And again, thanks to things like their software optimization. Some other things we have here is Nvidia right now mentions that in this ML performance, they train their biggest accelerator unit that they showcased was one with 11,000 GPUs, but they believe in the future, in 2024, they're going to have 100 NVIDIA Hopper GPU frontier models, and maybe they'll be able to train. And in 2025, they'll have AI factories with 300,000 NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs. So we can kind of already see the huge demand of NVIDIA GPUs at the moment, which can also be very bullish. I was actually very excited to see this, and we can see the huge dramatic growth of GPUs used per data center or per supercomputer. The final thing that we are seeing is here's another example of kind of the improvements of Intel Gaudi 2 here. They're kind of showcasing that, hey, look, you say you're an alternative to us, but NVIDIA H100 is 2.8 times better, and the H200 is 3.2 better in things like fine-tuning performance. Now, in forms of inferencing, the improvements is even a lot better, where the H200 is about 4.7 times faster. So overall, some great news there for NVIDIA shareholders, and I do believe, like I mentioned, NVIDIA right now is just competing against itself. Now, some other bullish news, we have reports that came out today based that TSMC is accelerating their CoWoS advanced packaging capacity construction. So obviously right now we are on a supply constraint market. So if TSMC can improve that capacity, that bodes well for NVIDIA in the long term of things. So just wanted to bring that out. Now, the final thing I wanted to take a closer look at is Broadcom. So Broadcom is up 14% after hours. This is not a stock I'm personally in right now, but we can see the stock has been dominating. Year to date, the stock is up 37%. Not counting the after hours results. And the main reason is this company, one, announced a 10-for-1 stock split, but they also did beat revenue, I believe, and beat earnings per share. Yes, they did. But one thing that they mentioned is that they are seeing huge growth in their AI accelerators. So their AI accelerators are custom ASIC solutions, which is very different from Nvidia, but I'll let the CEO explain it in a bit. But the great thing about this company is they expect for 2024 that AI-linked chips to be $11 billion in 2024 versus their prior forecast of $10 billion. So obviously we can see the huge excitement for their AI chips, and obviously that definitely is creating some excitement on the stock price. Now, this is what I believe everybody should know about. And everybody's here kind of considering, hey, Jose, all these big tech players are designing their own AI chip. And these AI chips are going to eliminate the need for Nvidia's chips in general. And most of those AI chips that are being built are either from companies like Broadcom or Marvell. So these big tech players go to them and say, hey, look, we need help building these chips. So one of the analysts, hey, can you explain the difference or the competition between Broadcom and Nvidia? And this is what the CEO said. On AI accelerators, I think we are operating on a different, to start with scale, much a different model it is. And on the GPUs, which are the AI accelerator of choice on merchant, in a merchant environment, is something that is extremely powerful as a model, and it's something that Nvidia operates in a very, very effective manner. We don't even think about competing against them in that space. Not in the least. That's where they're very good at, and we know where we stand with respect to that. So the CEO mentions that, hey, look, Nvidia is the top dog. We're not even competing against them, and I'm not even going to lie to you guys that we compete against them, right? That's not where we at. We know where we stand. We know exactly where Nvidia stands, and we respect that. But what they do is they work on very selective hyperscalers. If there is a scale, and this is pretty much, if there is a specific particular, and that's the thing, particular complex AI workloads, they're able to create these ASIC AI accelerators. What Nvidia provides are more GPUs, which are programmable and can work for any AI workloads. But if there is one particular very complex AI workload that big tech player does over and over and over again, then it makes sense for them to make an AI chip. But again, we can kind of see from the CEO of Broadcom, a huge company, how much respect they have on how well Nvidia does in the GPU market. So I thought that's something that we should end this note on today's episode. And reading that, actually, again, I don't know how it can, but it just showcases how strong of a lead Nvidia is amongst anybody else. So Broadcom, I appreciate you to bring the CEO of Broadcom. I appreciate for bringing the real thought process of how we should see Nvidia and these other ASIC players. Now, Nvidia is definitely dominating the space. So congratulations to any investor. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of what Broadcom CEO said. Take care. Have a good day and see you next time.